I am live. I am back this week. I am let me get kind of situated as people are joining. So I'll get started in about a minute or so. I just want to share with you the link if you want your comments displayed or if you want your name displayed by your comments. You can follow this particular link and I'll put it in the comments. You can follow this particular link, and if you to get name, have name, attach the comments. I hope everybody is having a great week. I could imagine that it's been a challenging
I hope everybody
week.
is having a great.
I don't know how that went off of there. But I could imagine that some people may be having a challenging week with the retrograde, right? And so, without being an astrologer, and knowing like all the ins and outs of retrogrades, but I do know that the energy of retrogrades and the retrograde, it kind of invites us or requests us to kind of be still, to slow down, to review, to remember, to dot our I's, cross our T's, be more mindful, especially when it comes to communications. And so now is not a good time to be doing like these massive projects unless you're going to be very mindful about the projects. They say like now it's not a good time to be signing contracts and just doing a lot of just a lot of just busy non-thinking. Like this is a time of mindfulness, and it's so interesting. I just did. Oh, I have popcorn in my teeth. I hope y'all can see it, but it's so interesting. I just did my meditation course, my Journey to Mindfulness meditation course over the weekend. It was a wonderful course. I had a full course, and I was really excited about it. Some amazing students in that class. But anyway, I really touched a lot upon mindfulness. And so this is a period as these planets are in retrograde. I heard of several planets in retrograde. I know Mercury for a fact is in retrograde, but I heard there are some other planets in retrograde as well. And so again, it is really important that you be mindful, that you be even more so mindful in your communication, in your verbal communications, your written communications, that you pause, that you breathe before you snap off and say things that, you kind of may have wanted to say, but it didn't come out quite right. So just be mindful as you're going through this retrograde period, which is going to extend through Virgo. We're in Virgo season now, so it's going to extend through Virgo and Libra. So, yes, so welcome. I'm going to check the chat and see if I have anybody who has joined live. I am well aware that a lot of you watch the rebroadcast, and I am grateful no matter how you watch it. If you're watching me live or if you prefer to check out the rebroadcast, I am grateful. And so let me just see. Let me close that and see who has joined. Greetings, welcome. I'm seeing people starting to join, so thank you for joining me this evening, especially as we begin to wind down the summer. Um, and so you'll start noticing the days getting shorter and shorter. And so just honor too, and I talk about this a lot, just honor the change in seasons, the change in cycles. It's probably a good idea to do some type of rituals around the changing of season, the changing of cycles, because as the external environments begin to shift and change, so does our internal environments. And so, yeah, we're all integrated and interrelated. And so, keeping that in mind and just again being mindful of what's going on inside of you. And how do you do that? You take breaks, you breathe, you go out in nature, you feel and you witness and you experience your connection to everything. So that's how you do it. And so I'll give a few more people. I see people are coming in, and so I'll give you a couple of more minutes to join as I check comments one more time before I get started. Check my phone. All right, so let's get started because I have so much to talk about. So normally I just want to share with you where a lot of the topics that I talk about, a lot of the topics that I talk about really come from either my own personal lived experiences or the lived experiences of some of the clients that I work with or my children or my family. And so I just kind of pull from various places of inspiration. And the reason I call it inspiration is because when I am thinking about a topic, and sometimes I won't even be consciously, oh, what am I going to talk about this week? Something is just placed in my heart. And so because I'm open and I listen to spirit and I pay attention to when things are just like given to me and placed in my heart, then I just kind of take it and run with it. And so what I want to talk about tonight is very powerful, it's very sensitive, and it's very empowering. And I want to talk about healing our mother wounds. And so I'm going to build upon what mother wounds are, how they show up and manifest in our lives, both men and women. And so I know sometimes I cater a lot of these wellness and wisdom Wednesdays talks. Sometimes it feels like it's really slanted heavily towards women. But tonight's talk is really for both men and women because both men and women carry substantial mother wounds. And so I want to build upon that. I want to talk about that. And again, feel free if you have any comments or any thoughts as I'm going through this. I'll be checking the comments and thoughts and answering them. Even if it's in the rebroadcast, I try to go back and then answer all your comments or thoughts. And so again, tonight's topic: healing the mother wound. And so as I reflect upon the mother wound, and as I was kind of pulling this together this morning, I was sitting outside and I was kind of gathering my thoughts and thinking about what I wanted to say in regards to the mother wound. I know that this is a very sensitive topic or a very sensitive subject because, yeah, we have these like really strong innate connections and bonds with our moms, and rightfully so. They brought us into this world. But that's loaded, that's a loaded experience. They brought us into this world. And so on one hand, we're super grateful for life. There's so much value um, in life and in our lived experiences if we're able to find that value. But again, not everybody is able to find that value. Not everybody is able to find their joy. Not everybody is able to find their passion and their purpose. And sometimes they go through life just kind of being the walking dead, just carrying a lot of dramas and traumas and a lot of density that keeps them disconnected. And some people even angry for being here. Sorry, I got popcorn. I don't know what made me eat popcorn right before jumping on this live. I got popcorn all on my teeth. And so, yeah, and because of those wounds, because of those blocks, um, sometimes people can become angry and resentful and carry a lot of mother issues and mother wounds. And it could be just, well, you brought me into this world and look at how fucked up this world is. Look at how fucked up my situation is. Look at, I'm suffering, I'm suffering, I'm suffering. And so that's one aspect of it. But I'll go into other aspects of mother wounding. But that is kind of what is coming up for me now, is that sometimes people can be angry or mad for being in this world, and their connection to being in this world is through their source, which is their mother's womb. And so, whether you are consciously aware of it or not, we all, both men and women alike, carry mother wounds in our bodies. And so, whether or not you had or have like the greatest, most kind, loving, compassionate, supportive, self-sacrificing mother in the world, you too carry mother wounds. Whether you know it or not, you do. You carry mother wounds. And so, what do I mean by that? So, by nature of being a woman in this patriarchal culture and society, all women in some way, shape, or form are subjected to psychological abuse due to societal norms that often downplay and denigrates her place in the world, women's place in the world, women's place in society, minimizes them. And so, starting off as a woman, you already have those things against you. And so now you step into this space of becoming a mother. And so becoming a mother sometimes leads to even more harm and stress, because mothers often have to worry about the not only the survival for themselves but the survival of their babies. They have to worry about, am I going to lose my job if I get pregnant? They have to worry about, do I go back to work? Do I stay at home with my babies? They have to worry about daycare. They have to worry about, when they're pregnant, being sick at work and not losing their jobs, not having sufficient medical leave, not having sufficient medical care, dealing with traumatic deliveries. Like, being a mother puts a lot of trauma on your physical body. And it gets compounded if you don't have a supportive partner, or again, you don't have enough money and you don't have enough time. It's like so many things that creates these psychological wounds and sometimes physical wounds that a mother experiences, in essence, as being a mother. She is automatically looked at as being like this self-sacrificing individual whose focuses her primary needs on her partners, her families, her work, her children, and all of these things tends to take precedence over her own life. And so she tends to be disconnected to who she is, what she wants, her dreams, her aspirations. Like, all of those things end up getting kind of put on a back burner when she becomes a mother. And so, and again, a lot of these psychological or physical wounds that she is carrying in her body already before becoming a mother, all of those things are still there, and it's compounded. And that's just from the lived experiences of being a woman again in this society. And so now let's look at it if you're a Black woman, like myself, like a lot of you all who are on here. So not only do we deal with the physical, the psychological and the physical distress, it's often magnified by this racialized component. So now we're dealing with gender and racial oppression, coupled with the historical and contemporary trauma of the incessant denigration, sexualization, misogyny, and commodification of our Black female bodies. And so, as a result, women, we often carry these wounds in our bodies, primarily in our hearts and in our womb space, which is the primary home and environment for our babies. And so, what do I mean by that? For 9 months, that baby is one with that mama, fully and completely integrated, sharing her energetic space and her physical space and her mental space. So she feels and experiences everything that that mother feels and experiences, both internally and externally. And thus, that mother's wounds becomes that child's wounds, her wounding, her fears, her tears about being a mom and what can be at times a very cruel and toxic world. Her insecurities, her thoughts of survivals, mental, verbal, and physical abuse, if that's her story. I'm not saying that's the story of every woman, but if that's her story, that also becomes her baby's story. Just by way of being connected in that womb space, she is embodying that baby, embodying the next generation. So all of these things are being transmitted unintentionally, unintentionally, and I'll talk about that, but it's unintentionally to her unborn child. So this is the reason, one of the primary reasons why I study historical and intergenerational trauma. First, to acknowledge that it really is a thing, that trauma is transmitted from generation to generation to generation. And then to really understand, particularly for Black women, how do we begin to consciously heal and disrupt its effects? Because again, we have like that additional compounding component, of dealing with racial, gendered, sexualized oppression and trauma. And we live it, we breathe it, and we hold it in our bodies. And so tonight, I want to talk about healing our mother wounds, really understanding what they are and how we can begin to heal them within ourselves to disrupt the transmission to the next generation. Greetings. I am Kimberly J., spiritual teacher, scholar, activist, master healing practitioner, and the founder of the Journey to Wholeness Center. And I'm here tonight just to hold a sacred healing space for you with resources and tools to empower you on your own unique journey to healing and wholeness. And I welcome you to another week of Wellness and Wisdom Wednesdays. Ask Kimberly J. Live. And so I have been doing these wisdom talks, I guess you can call it, um, since February. And I'm really excited that I have been very diligent at doing them, like every other week, or maybe two times a month max. But I've been diligent, and I've been getting so much good feedback from you all. And so I do plan to continue to hold this space, because I think it's very important that we have these really tough conversations. Like I tell my clients all the time, yes, I am a spiritualist, and I do work in the realm of spirit. I'm an intuitive healer. I study. I'm a spiritual scholar. Like I am in the spirit realm. I receive downloads and all that great stuff, but I experience my spirituality through the lived experiences of a Black woman in this Black woman's body. And so I have to integrate spirituality with embodiment in my lived experiences. And our lived experiences is oftentimes rooted in grief and anger and trauma, and like um, all of these things that begin to manifest within our bodies, that we need to be able to have tools and resources to heal. Okay. And so that's why it's not like, I tell my clients all the time, I'm not that, oh, everything is love and light. Just the opposite. For me, everything is healing. Everything is seeking harmony. Everything is finding balance. Everything is finding joy, and how we can create and build and be in relationship primarily with ourselves, and then be in relationship with others. you know. And so in this space, I always like to begin with a meditation, or a brief grounding, or a breathing. Sometimes people don't subscribe to the terminology of meditation, so I'll just say stillness. And so as I was teaching the mindfulness to meditation class over the weekend, I said it's very important, no matter if you're in a leadership position, no matter if you're a teacher, if you're a counselor, no matter what it is that you do, no matter if every day before you go to work, just to settle into your body, take a few deep breaths, allow yourself to ground, and allow yourself to be open for whatever needs to manifest for you and through you for that day. That is so, so very important. And some of you might find meditation or stillness more beneficial for you in the evening as you begin to settle down. And so find it, no matter what it is. If it's first thing in the morning, if it's, every day on lunch, you're going to go outside and take a walk and really focus on your breathing and just settle into your body. Or even if it's late at night, just make sure that you begin to cultivate a practice, an intentional practice of meditation or mindfulness or centering. And so that's what I want to invite you to do, because again, this topic can be triggering for some, and it could be really eye opening for others. So I just want to make sure that you are listening with your heart, listening with your full body. And so I invite you, wherever you are, except for if you're driving, to just close your eyes and just draw your awareness to your breath, allowing your breath to settle your body, feeling your body getting heavier, a little denser, softening. And now take a deep breath in from the belly, bring it in the heart, hold it, and softly exhaling it out. Another deep breath in, hold it, and then softly exhaling it out. One more deep breath in from the belly. Hold it in your heart, and then softly exhaling it out. And as you begin to release, I invite you to take your left hand and place it over your heart center. Take your right hand and place it right below the belly button. This is your sacral area. And for women, you can identify that as your womb space. And for both men and women, it is your place of relationships, of creativity, of manifestation. And so just feel into this space, allowing the energy of the heart to sink into your sacral. And just notice what you feel and how you feel. Notice if you feel any stress or any constriction. Or notice if you feel a peace or a calmness in your body. Just take a few moments being an observer of how you feel, no judgment. And then take a deep breath in. And open mouth, exhale it all out. And then you can begin to make your way back into your body, into this space, this sacred space. And again, just notice how you feel, because this is something you can cultivate and practice every single day to center yourself, to bring more energy into your body, to really check in and drop down to determine exactly how you feel, what you need to release, what you want to let go of, what is it? So it's so much that you can glean and gain from being able to just do a little brief meditation. That didn't even take that long. I think we were meditating for about a minute. So I can go on and on and on. So that's for another class or another course. You all should have taken, if you didn't take my meditation course, you got to take that class. It was just so powerful. So anyway, I want to talk about the mother wound. And again, it is can be a sensitive subject, but it's also really relatable. And so unhealed mother wounds, those are the source of most of our toxic relationships, and they shape and inform every aspect of our lives. And so unhealed mother wounds, they dictate the foundation of our relationships with ourselves, primarily with ourselves, with our partners, with our children, with our coworkers, our jobs, our parents. And so these wounds, they tend to show up, you know. And the reason I say show up is because we are very much sometimes unconscious, and they show up in our subconscious. So we're not even conscious of how these mother wounds begin to manifest themselves in our everyday lives. And so these wounds tend to show up either in one or two ways. So either they are suppressed and internalized, which means they're primarily hidden and ignored. We don't deal with them at all on any type of conscious level. And that's normally for fear of betraying our moms, or feeling like we're betraying our moms, who we absolutely love and adore, rightfully so. Some of us have the most powerful relationships, the most loving relationships with our mothers. And so we don't even want to go there. We don't even want to go there. We don't even want to talk about that wounding that we may have inherited directly or indirectly from our mothers. So inevitably, we keep our moms on these like imaginary pedestals, creating this illusion of having the most perfect, flawless mom because we love them so much. But the danger in doing this is that we then repeat their cycles. So there are cycles of being a martyr. There are cycles of being insecure. There are cycles of people pleasing. There are cycles of self-sabotage and martyrdom and needing to be perfect and flawless. So we begin to take on those traits when we don't address the mother wounds that we're carrying within us. So that's one way that it shows up. It shows up silently. The second way that mother wounds tend to show up, and this is in both men and women, again, this is both for men and women, is that we act them out on a daily basis, and we let those wounds control, consciously and subconsciously control our emotions, our mental health, our relationships. And that looks like, for men, that looks a lot like men who are womanizers. They like secretly, or maybe not so secretly, don't like women. They're abusive. They have like this disdain for women. And for women, it begins to show up as them choosing abusive partners or being abusive to their bodies. They're constantly battling their moms, and they tend to have very, very difficult relationships with their mom. And so those are the two primary ways that those wounds begin to show up. Either they show up really quietly and silently and are suppressed, or they are loud, really loud, where you're just like, oh, that person got some issues. And 9 times out of 10, those issues are rooted in their relationships or lack thereof with their mothers. And so some of the effects or the behaviors that are manifested with unhealed mother wounds includes, and some of them I just mentioned, but people pleasing, self-sacrificing, being a martyr, constantly trying to fix everyone and everything, being perfect, being in a relationship with abusive partners or being that abusive partner, be it mental, emotionally, and or physically, abandonment issues, chronic issues with anger and resentment, being insecure or self-loathing, and for women especially, issues with our body images. Another way that these behaviors manifest themselves is very difficult relationships with our mothers, but also difficult relationships these mothers having difficult relationships with their daughters. Okay. It also shows up as deceit, a lot of secrets, a lot of hidden stuff, not able to stand and speak one's truth. It shows up as heart issues, loneliness, disconnection, isolation, being emotionally unavailable. And again, that's both for men and women, or feeling unprotected, unloved, not validated. And so that's how those wounds begin to manifest themselves in our daily lives. And I know some of you, I know I have had experiences of feeling either all of these things or some of these things as a result of mother wounds. And so how can we begin like this journey or this work to really start healing our mother wounds? The first thing that we need to do or we must do is acknowledge that these wounds exist. You won't be betraying your mother. You won't love your mother any less. Your mother won't love you any less. We got to acknowledge that these wounds exist, whether these wounds be conscious or unconscious, intentional or unintentional, they're there. And we have to acknowledge that we all carry a little bit or a lot of bit of wounding from our mothers. And so how do we acknowledge it is that we begin to humanize our mothers. So far too often, we put our mothers on these pedestals as if they're these superhuman, flawless beings. And they are superhuman. I mean, yeah, you know. But at the same time, they're human and they are flawless and they do have trauma and they have had things that have happened to them in their lives that have shaped who they are. They do have their own trauma stories. And so, but as children, again, we grow up putting them on these pedestals and then we become adults and we keep these on these pedestals. And then we slowly but surely find out that, wow, they are human too. That they are flawed, that they do get angry, that and so sometimes children only see the heroic efforts that their moms put in or non-heroic efforts, are laser focused on that we never really acknowledge and see their pain, their trauma. We never again see them as flawed human beings. And so it's important that we show our children all aspects of ourselves and our lives. We open ourselves, and when we do that, we open ourselves up to more grace and more compassion. And our children begin to understand that we are flawed human beings just as they are. Like we all have our stories, but we tend to keep those stories hidden from our children. So the second thing, as adults, you have got to stop blaming and shaming your mothers for their wounds, their imperfections, and do your own work to heal your own wounds. So it doesn't matter where you got the wounds from. It doesn't matter if your mom consciously or subconsciously transmitted these wounds to you. As an adult, none of that matters. It's your job to heal it. So as an adult, mommy can't fix your mommy issues. You have to heal that shit. Only you can fix it. And I see that more I see it more prominent with men, you know, who want their mamas to fix it. They want their mamas to fix it. And so as adults, it is our responsibility to heal our own wounds, no matter where they come from. So our mamas, they may have both unconsciously and consciously inflicted and transmitted some of those wounds to us, but only you can heal it. It's your body, it's your life. So being angry and resentful or any of those things I named before as manifestations of mama wounds, it really only hurts you. And your mothers, in most cases, they're still trying to heal their own wounds and they're not equipped to heal, to work on healing their wounds and your wounds as well. And so, whether our mothers did the best, the absolute best that they could with raising you or not, it is now up to you to heal and break those cycles. Okay. And again, I find this really more difficult with men, like in terms of refusing to heal their mother wounds, to let go of their mother wounds, to do the work to heal their mother wounds. And as a result, they subconsciously and some consciously, but they began to take those wounds out on all women. And so we got to fix that shit. You have to fix that shit. I have to, we all have to fix that shit on our own or get the help that we need. So I don't want to say on our own, but it is ours to fix. That's what I'm trying to say. And so we need to get the help to start that process of healing. So the third thing is communicate. Mothers, talk to your children. So when they get of age, have the conversations about who you are, about your lived experiences. Tell them your stories, the good, the bad, the ugly. Share your lived experiences as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult, as a mother, as a wife, or a partner, no matter how traumatic. Let your children see that you are imperfect. Share with them your wounds. Stop lying and hiding. Too many lies, too many secrets, covering up and suppressing your trauma stories. So when you give yourself the space to be able to communicate and share with your children your truth, first of all, you'll be helping your children avoid some of the pitfalls that you've fallen into, especially for mothers and their daughters. And you can also teach them how to have compassion and how to see you as a fully realized human being and not just this, that's just mama, 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 mama. Girls really, really need this. So we have to stop wanting or needing our children to see us as perfect. No, we have to stop that. We have to have those tough conversations. And again, I'm not talking about trying to have these tough conversations with a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, but there comes a time when mothers need to be able to have a strong enough relationship with their children that they can share their stories, that they can share their wounds. I just had this happen to me last week on September 10th. Was that last week already? No, 4 days ago. So on September 10th was my youngest son Kevin's birthday. It was his 20th birthday. And my dear heart sister friend Medea, she texted me and she said, "Happy birthing day." And I had never heard that before. And it was so powerful because it made me reflect. So not only was it Kevin's birthday, this was the day that I gave birth to Kevin. So that's acknowledging the mother and what the mother has gone through to get that baby here. And then I sat in reflection and the tears just, I began because getting him here was so traumatic. I had to have a cold C-section. He was premature. His dad wasn't very supportive. It was just me and my mom. It was late at night. I was afraid. I had complications after they pulled him out. I couldn't even see him. My blood pressure was low, and so I experienced a lot of physical trauma in getting him here. And so we don't even acknowledge that, and we don't even talk about it. Just it's just kind of like we press it down. And it's so interesting because when my girlfriend Medea said that I was triggered, so I was crying, so obviously it wasn't gone. And so it made me, and I ended up calling Kevin, and I just was in tears, and he was like, "Oh, mom, what's wrong? I'm like, I'm good. I just wanted to share with you what just happened to me. I just want to share with you your birthing story." And I shared it with him, and I just told him that I'm just so proud of him and I'm so grateful that he chose me, to come through no matter how difficult it was, no matter, but I was able to sit with that triggering, I was able to sit with that pain, and I was able to share that with my son. And I think that's so important because now that will teach him how to be more compassionate towards his partner when he has children, when and if he decides to have children. Being more compassionate towards what a woman has to physically go through and in some instances to bring life into this world. That it can be psychologically, physically, and mentally traumatizing. And so sharing that story with him gives him the knowledge and the information that will be very valuable and beneficial for him a little bit down the line. And so that's why we need to share our trauma stories. That's why we need to be real, to keep it real with our children, especially our adult children. That's why we need to be open. We need to be honest. We need to have these conversations so your children can see you sorry, it's like a gnat in here. So your children can see you as human, as vulnerable and not as these like super, again, like the superhuman being. I have this gnat that just keeps flying on me. So we got to stop wanting or needing our children to see us as perfect. Most children, even adult children, have no idea the traumas that their mothers have lived through, have gone through, that their bodies have experienced. And so having those conversations so your children can develop a deeper relationship. It's all about relationships. So they can develop a deeper relationship for you and with you so they don't attach these larger than life perceptions to this mythical figure called mom, who was either the greatest mom in the world or the worst mom in the world because she didn't do this and she didn't do that and she didn't protect me and she didn't, have the conversations that you say, well, I couldn't protect you because I couldn't protect myself. So have the conversations, empower yourself to speak your truth. And lastly, forgiveness. So work through the process of forgiveness, forgiving your mothers for whatever experience that you had with them that was not optimal, or that you feel like, you picked up or inherited certain things. And, so just work through the process of forgiveness, not necessarily for your mother, it doesn't have to be for your mother, but for your own healing and evolution. And so one of the exercises that I do with all my coaching clients is a forgiveness exercise where we look at the mother wound, and one of the exercises, I have them write a letter to their mother. They're not actually going to give it to their mother. It is again for them to go within and acknowledge and uncover, because again, you can't heal what you can't feel. You can't uncover what you fail to see. And so writing this letter is just a open-ended letter that says, I forgive my mother for, and just put it all out on paper. And it's a way to transfer that energy, to transfer the pain, to transfer the wounds onto the paper, to have that conversation. And whether or not you ever have that conversation with your mother, it's for you. And so you write this letter, and when you are ready, you burn it. You release that energy. And so I also talk about that exercise, or talk about forgiveness. I have a course in Journey University called The Power of Forgiveness. And that is a really powerful course that I'll put a link in the comments to that course for you. This gnat will not leave me alone. I don't even know where it came from. So I'll pause briefly here. Let me check. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Checking out the comments, checking out the comments. And again, I know a lot of you watch the rebroadcast, so please feel free to have any comments or questions as you are watching the broadcast, because this is just such an important topic. And if you want to build more on it, I'm definitely available. And so, in closing, and I'll kind of wrap it up because I'm going over time. Lavender Hill, yes, this is much needed. You know what? I wish I could have had this insight when I first became a mother. It would have changed a lot of things. I wish I could have had this insight with my mother. I'm still dealing with healing some wounds from my mother. And the reason why I call it a journey is because this is something that we'll probably be working through, our entire lives. And so that's why, again, it's just important to have the conversations, to do the work. Nothing will heal if we don't consciously do the work to heal it. Nothing. And I just want to sit with that. Healing just doesn't happen out the sky blue. It just doesn't, everything just goes away and we pretend that it's not there, you know. And so these wounds, these mother wounds, they can last and be transmitted from generation to generation to generation to generation. And so the only way that we can disrupt and interrupt it is by acknowledging it, by consciously dealing with it, by consciously working through it. We can rewrite a new narrative. We can create a new story. We can create a new way of being in relationship with our children and with our parents and generations in front of us and generations behind us. A lot of our trauma, and again, I talk about historical trauma, but a lot of our trauma is rooted in this survival mentality that we had to have just to survive. And so that gets passed on. So how do we interrupt it? How do we stop it? How do we figure out new ways of being in relationship with our mothers? And how do mothers figure out new ways of being in relationship with their children, with their sons, and with their daughters? And how do we together create spaces and invite in tools and resources to interrupt it? And so if you want to build more, again, I'm available. You can always email me if something has been triggering you and you want to kind of talk one on one. Please send me an email. I do individual one on one life coaching, intuitive readings, all that stuff. You all already know all of what I do. And I also strongly encourage that you check out that on demand course about forgiveness. I have found that it has been very powerful and helpful for a lot of people who want to consciously do that work, do that process work of forgiveness. And if you like this video, please, so please subscribe to my YouTube channel and share it with others. And so before I hop off here, I will check the comments. Oh my goodness, thank you. Oh my gosh, yes it is. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I am so humbled and honored to be able to share this wisdom and to share this medicine. Oh, I'm getting emotional because that's what I call it. Sharing wisdom is medicine. And so, yes, I love you all. If I don't have any more comments, hi Keisha. My cousin Keisha is watching. You're gonna have to watch the rebroadcast because I'm done now, cousin. I love you all. And again, if you watch the rebroadcast, any questions, any thoughts, just put them out there. This neck keeps messing with me. So I'm gonna get off this live, and you all have a wonderful, 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 wonderful evening. And let's keep doing this work. Keep doing this work together. Thanks.